Hey, you, wherever you are in the world right now, thank you so much for being here with me. We know that we're living in a crazy time and we know that the world is changing. So let's create a bridge as we travel through one another's countries, removing all the labels, coming together as one people, finding our home in one world. And as we do this, this is why our signature talk today, losing everything, is so important. Today, I'm very excited to welcome my guest speaker, Kasey Compton. Hi, Kasey.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome. And Kasey and I are on the East Coast of the United States, and we're just a few states away from each other, which is exciting. And Kasey has a powerful story that she's going to share with our audience about losing everything. And I think a lot of people, including myself, can relate to a part of this story. So this is going to be a great conversation. But just so the audience knows a little bit about you, Kasey, can you share with us a little bit of your background?
Sure. So, like you said, I live in South Central Kentucky. I've lived here pretty much my whole life. I've traveled a lot and lived in some other areas, but this has always been home. I have three kids. I have two daughters, 11, 6, and then I have a little boy who's 17 months old. My background professionally is in mental health counseling, and I've been in that capacity since 2009. Now, the majority of my days are focused on help. I own a group practice, a group mental health practice, and so working in that space, working to help people in that way. And the other half of my time I spend writing and working with other business owners. And it's just been an amazing gift to be able to see people get better and see people find hope and help inspire people to reach their goals. So that's me in a nutshell.
I think that's amazing that you're a mom of three kids and you're splitting your professional life in two ways. And I think that's really a lot to handle in the world the way that it is today. But it's also, just so inspiring at the same time because you're super strong and, able to handle so many things. And I think one of the things that is so great about speaking with you is that you do have this mental health world in your back pocket. And I just wanted to get some insight around how you see it changing. Like, what have you seen since we have been living in a global pandemic? Do you see more people reaching out for help?
Yes, absolutely. I feel like that the pandemic itself has taken issues that were already there, maybe just lying dormant, or I don't know, just they're already there, and it's just brought everything up to the surface. And thankfully, as a result of that, people are reaching out. The problem that I'm seeing is the shortage of counselors. Now that all of these people are actually reaching out for help, we don't have enough people to help. And that's scary. That's scary when you do have a shortage. So I'm imagining that we're going to see some shifts, and I think hopefully we're going to see more people going into that profession and going into that field because people are asking for it.
Yeah, and 2020 has definitely made people turn inward into a space that they're not comfortable with, especially when they're in a lockdown situation and they're being forced to deal with, their world the way that it's been instead of racing from it and going to work or doing other things with the distractions. They're more, I guess, stuck, in their space. So I can definitely understand that. And I know through a lot of my interviews with people, I hear that underlying theme as well. And as we're speaking today, I know our suicide rates around the globe are climbing. So for anyone in the audience that is suicidal, just please reach out for community support and get that support that you need around you. But let's get back to, this place that you were in at this point in time where you had lost everything. I mean, there's a lot of people that I think right now they've lost jobs. Maybe some people are redesigning their relationships because they were toxic, and, they're just restructuring how it is that they're living. So I think there's a sense of, clarity around who they are authentically and then living more in a authentic space. But what happened to you? What happened in your journey that, Kasey, you were brought to your knees in this place that you just lost everything?
Hmm. Yeah, so I'll be honest, a lot of it is still a little bit of a blur to me. It's taking me really putting forth a conscious effort to try and remember everything. I do want to get to a place where I haven't, and I'll tell you about it, but I have this idea, I like kind of like you were telling me, I have this feeling, I have this something in there that's telling me to talk about this. And so one day I hope to write a book, or I don't know what I'll do with it, just kind of like you. I don't know yet, but um, I was out of a pretty nasty divorce. I had a daughter, and it was just a really miserable time in my life. We went from we had a comfortable life. He had a good job. I was a teacher. Everything was fine in that way, and it just wasn't a healthy relationship for either one of us. It was quite terrible, actually. So after a couple of years, we were able to split up. And I remember feeling at the end of my rope during that time, because I thought I had lost everything. It felt like I had lost everything. I didn't have the stability. I didn't have the security. Nothing was normal. Nothing. It felt so messy and loud, and peace was not even there anymore. And I remember just saying, I remember going to church on Sundays, and I would say, I'm praying for peace. Just give me peace, give me peace, because everything was so chaotic and so crazy. And I was struggling. I was a counselor by that point. I had graduated, got my master's degree. I was working as a counselor. I was driving, doing in-home therapy services. It's a lot. I was really trying to work hard. I would work as a counselor all day, and then I would work at a restaurant at nighttime just to earn enough money to be able to pay rent or whatever. So I was really, really struggling. And a couple of years went by, and it just never really seemed to get any better. And I just kept saying, I just give me peace. I will never, I have to make better relationships. I have to make better choices when it comes to who I'm going to be with. And so I got really clear on what I expected out of a relationship and what I expected out of myself and another person. And I was sitting in church, and they were playing music. Our church has a, they're really heavily focused on worship. And something just told me that I just needed to be open-minded. And it wasn't maybe a day or two later that one of the worship leader came out and talked to me. And he was younger than I was. And, I would have never, he was not my type. Never. It was just not going to happen. And I remembered just having that feeling that I needed to be open. And we started dating, and it turned into a relationship, and it was a very healthy relationship, the most healthy relationship I've ever had. He was just a very kind human being, very nice person, and had a very good heart. And so, we got together, and we were together for a little while, and then I found out I was pregnant. And so I'd already had with my first daughter, I had a lot of health issues during the pregnancy. And I just thought it was just her, it wasn't anything related. Well, come to find out, I went in for my 20-week ultrasound, which they were going to tell me if it was a boy or a girl. And then they told me at that appointment, my husband wasn't with me at the time, he was working. And they told me that I was going into labor at 20 weeks. And I thought, oh, everything stopped. Everything changed. Nothing mattered anymore except that in that moment. And so they said, you have to have emergency surgery. And so they put me into emergency surgery to try to stop the labor and do everything. And then they put me on flat bed rest for the remainder of the pregnancy. And now they don't do that anymore. But at that point they did. And, I was limited to how many times I was allowed to use the restroom. I could shower once a week. It was hard. And so in that instance, not only was I afraid I was going to lose my baby, but I lost my job. I lost our home. My income was the one that carried us through. So it was bad. I thought it was really bad. And so my husband had to pick up 2 more jobs. He worked 3 jobs. Anyone that would hire him, he would work for them. And I was absolutely helpless. I could do nothing. And that was the beginning of really losing it all. I thought I had lost it all whenever I got divorced, but I really hadn't. We lost our cars, had to file bankruptcy, lost our home. I call this story the laundry basket baby because I did have my daughter at term. She was healthy. Everything was fine. But when we brought her home from the hospital, we didn't have anything. And so she slept in a laundry basket with a towel on the bottom at the side of the bed. And it was just a really eye-opening, gut-wrenching experience to where there were times that, if someone didn't bring me something to eat, there was a good chance we didn't even have it in the refrigerator. So if someone didn't drop off food, we may not have even eaten. It was pretty bad. It was really, really bad. But now looking back, it's been a blessing. It was a blessing that it happened. But at the time, it was very humbling, very scary.
Yeah, and the laundry basket, when you said that, the first thing I thought of was my grandparents' generation, because that's something that they used to do with their babies is they would put them in laundry baskets, and it just gave them the ability to carry them from one room to another and, be close to them. And I think that's beautiful. Like when you talk about it, I know the moment was really hard, but it was also beautiful because you had your baby in a safe space, and you had your baby and she was healthy and everything was okay. So like that part of the story is so beautiful. And the light in the darkness was that she was healthy, even though you had all this adversity around you, you had the blessing of her being healthy. So I really can appreciate that. And there's somebody in our audience right now that may be in a similar circumstance. Like, what was it that you did, Kasey, to help you in those moments where it did feel dark? It did feel like, it wasn't going to end, or it was, going to be this hamster wheel day after day and it wasn't going to change. What did you do?
Yeah, there was definitely moments where I had those thoughts, and fortunately I was pregnant, so I wasn't going to hurt myself, or so I think that was a blessing. And I knew that I had to be strong for my children, and I knew that nobody else was ever going to take my place. And for me, when I said my husband worked 3 jobs, I didn't see him. I was by myself all day long, laying flat on my back. He would be gone before I woke up, and he wouldn't get home till after midnight. And so I was by myself constantly. And being a therapist, I was able to recognize all of these horrible thoughts I was having and all of these distortions that were going on in my mind. And I knew what was going on, but it's still hard, even when you understand what's going on in your brain, to be able to step aside and really look at it from a different perspective. But one of the things that I did have to do was just not look so far in the future as far as my own mental health and sanity. And I had to slow it down and just take it minute by minute. Every minute was another minute closer towards that baby being born. And there were days where I would try not to watch the clock, but every minute that went by, I would just tell myself, okay, that's 1 minute closer. That's 1 minute closer. And I think that we get wrapped up in the end and the destination, and we just forget to slow down and find the positive, or find something in the journey that's gonna make meaning for us even more, later on down the road.
What advice would you give yourself in that moment in time that maybe you would have done differently or could have helped you?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, probably, probably to reach out. I'm not one to ask for help. My whole family is that way. We're just very much to ourselves, and it's probably not ever going to happen that we're going to ask or reach out and say, hey, I need to talk to you, or anything like that. And I think for me, if I would have just had somebody, I did have a couple of friends that would check on me, but for the most part, family, I mean, it was kind of disappointing for some of my family members. I don't want them to hear this and think, oh, she thinks I'm awful. I mean, some of my family members were great, and some of my husband's family members were great, and there were others that really were disappointing. And I just don't think that they understood the reality of what was happening, and what that was doing and what that could do. And I think that people often forget to check on others, and to ask people, how are you? And really want to know how you are, and not just use it as a way to open a conversation.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's not even just how are you, but it's the question, what can I do to help you?
Mm-hmm.
Because especially in isolation like you were, I'm sure there was a lot that you could have benefited from, just having somebody sit with you and talk to you, or, just having that human connectedness that you were missing. Because, like you said, your husband was at work. And from an outside perspective, somebody might think, well, she's married, she's got her husband, they'll just dismiss it. But the reality is that you're a mom, a pregnant mom that is isolated. And as you said, you go into these thoughts, and being a trained therapist, like, you can recognize the horrible thoughts and disassociate what's happening. But there's a lot of people that don't have that training and don't understand exactly what it is that they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
So I like your advice to, just stay in the moment and go minute to minute. I think that's such key advice. People that know me, when they're, literally when they're going through stuff, I'll say, you're one moment closer to where it is that you're going, whatever that may be. Right now, there's a lot of people in the world that are searching for that old life that they had. And even though things are changing, we are a moment closer to this new place that we're going to, and it's not going to feel the same as it does in this moment. So I think that's really a strong message for anyone who's listening, to really take that and wrap their arms around it. When you're feeling isolated, as the world does, especially with lockdowns and, this degree of separating people, what do you recommend for people that are living isolated?
I think that you really have to look at your own situation and pull from your own strengths and find something that's going to work for you. The positive side about all of this happening with COVID-19 in the world that we are living in right now is that in most situations, even if you are isolated, you still have an outlet, whether it's through phone, whether it's through internet, computer, Zoom meetings. There are so many people out there where it may feel like you are alone and no one understands. That's just your own mind. That is you responding to fear, and it is irrational. And so knowing that you are those thoughts that are coming up are really not true, and that there are other people that feel exactly like you do. And you just have to have that. You just have to take that first step. You just have to find the outlet that feels the best for you, phone, computer, internet, whatever, and reach out, because there are people out there doing all kinds of things right now to support one another. And we see it, we see virtual groups, we see virtual support groups, we see virtual yoga. There are so many things, there's so many resources, and we get stuck in our own fear, and we forget that there are plenty of options, and that there are so many people out there that are just like us.
It's so true. And if anything, the spotlight on mental health, I think, is shining really bright right now in this way of the world. And it's something that I think is so important, because there's been this stigma around it, and just to remove some of that stigma is huge.
Right.
I know that you're probably seeing it more than ever, being in the profession, and how are your thoughts around it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I have been working in mental health, like I said, since 2009. I've owned a mental health practice since 2015. And I remember in 2015, whenever I was starting my business and I was focusing on the brand and the message and, how we were going to communicate that, it was totally different than if I were to start a new business today, because the messaging at that point, we had to be a little more creative, because people were still, I remember going to a local bank to try to get a loan for a building that I wanted to purchase. And they said, I don't understand what you do. And I said, I'm a mental health counselor. I have a mental health practice. And they said, oh, so like you work with people who have disabilities? I was like, well, yes, but no, I work with people just like you, sir, just like you, who are just like your daughter, just like your son, just like your grandkids. I work with everybody just like you. And, I live in a small town. And so that stigma was even worse than how I even made that out to be. It was terrible. And I remember thinking, are you seriously? Is this what people think? Is this what people think mental health is? And I fortunately have seen such a change in just the last 5 years that people understand what counseling is now. People understand that it doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't show a sign of weakness. It actually is the opposite. It means that you're strong. It means that you believe in yourself, and it means that you can believe in your own potential, and you have something that's stopping you and you need some help to get rid of it. It's just like a headache, or any other issue that we face. It's in what other life or what other world would we have a physical ailment and then just say, oh, I'm not going to get help with that because that would mean I'm weak. We don't do that. So fortunately, I am seeing a change in mental health, and I hope it continues to change. And I think it will, as long as people reach out and as long as people are there to help.
Yeah. And I mean, do you have any advice for people that are sitting, listening to this, and maybe they've lost their job? Maybe they've lost everything by the definition that they describe everything.
Mhm.
And with their job often comes health insurance. So if they don't have their job and they don't have the health insurance, what direction do they go in to get support?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And that's exactly where I found myself. And I remember, because I couldn't work. And if I couldn't work, I didn't have health insurance. If I didn't have health insurance, how was I going to have a baby? So I understand how that can very quickly spiral, and that can affect someone's mental health. And in fact, there is a direct correlation between unemployment rates and suicide rates. And we talk about that a lot on social media in our group practice. One of the things, there's a lot of things you can do. Reaching out to local employment agencies reaching out to, if you called a mental health practice, asking them about targeted case management services. Case management helps link people up, helps people get jobs. But, if that's not an option, what I did was what I mentioned earlier is I just first of all, I told myself I wasn't comfortable putting myself in a position again where I was so vulnerable. And, I knew I wanted to have more children. Well, I wanted to. I was hoping that was going to be an option. And I thought, if this is going to happen every time that I have a baby, I'm going to have to figure this out, because being in a position where I was the one having to work and physically work was scary to me. And so, what I didn't have for the duration of the pregnancy was money or anything related to that. But what I did have was a lot of time to think. And so that's when I decided that I was going to start a business, and I was going to be in control of my own destiny and my own future. And that's what I did. And I think that that's what a lot of people can do, is to look at themselves and look at their strengths and to ask themselves, what is my purpose in life? And how can I design something that I can monetize in a way to fulfill that purpose while I can still take care of my family? That was my choice. If I wouldn't have gone that direction, I would have reached out to some local businesses or local nonprofits that help with employment, and there are resources out there. And just finding that grit inside of you that says, I'm not going to give up, I'm going to figure this out. That's very important too.
And for someone who is looking for mental health support, do you find that most practices will offer a sliding scale for someone who's unemployed?
Right. Yes, they do. And a lot of practices will even offer pro bono services. So, in really, as far as the code of ethics go for professional counselors, if they cannot see you for whatever reason, if they don't accept insurance or you can't afford their fees, they are ethically supposed to give you a referral to someone who can. So don't be afraid if you call one practice and if it doesn't work out, to ask them, can you give me a referral to somebody that can help me?
I think this is such an important conversation for people to hear, because I feel like there's so many people right now that are really struggling in a space of lack of control. They don't feel like they have control because of the circumstances that we've been living in. And this actually gives them an ability to control something in their life and take a forward moving step that can help them. And I know, when we talk about losing everything, I think defining what you have control over is so vitally important. And as you said, you just got to this place where you just reevaluated and made a decision on what it's going to look like and how is it going to look, moving forward. But for someone that doesn't know where to get started, how did you get started? What did you do to get started?
Oh, goodness. I did everything the hard way. So I wouldn't recommend doing anything that I did. I live in a little bubble in Somerset, Kentucky. I didn't even know that there were things that exist to help with this sort of thing. So, one of the things that I did is I called every single business related professional that I could to try to pick their brain about how I was going to do this and what this was going to be. And thankfully, a few of them spoke to me, and I just had to make myself become a sponge. And I didn't have any money to pay anyone, so I was just going to take any kind of information that I could get. I learned how to do marketing and branding from church. I learned how to really conceptualize my business from a former pastor. I learned how to really look at the number side by a book. I read a book that changed my whole entire life. So I didn't go out and do anything elaborate. I just took to what I knew, which was I could read and I could learn and I could watch YouTube videos and I could figure it out. So that's what I did. But there are so many people out there that have programs that are inexpensive, like membership communities that will give you every single resource. And that's what I did afterwards. After I went through all of this, I said, I'm creating a membership community for people that want to work and who want to own a healthcare business. And I'm just going to give them everything. And there are plenty. I don't care what kind of business that you want to have or what you want to do. You can find something online. And I mean, ours is $37 and you get every single thing that took me 5 years to make. So I would not recommend doing it the hard way. Just go online and Google and see what you can find. And there are so many things out there to help business owners, because I think now more than ever, people are valuing that freedom. They want that freedom. They want that feeling, that sense of control. And it's hard to do that when you're an employee.
It's so true. And if anything, this day and age that we live in, we have an abundance of information at our fingertips. And I love your resourcefulness to be able to go and, track it down and find it. And I think, your connectedness with your community to become a sponge and learn from other people is really a testament to your success, because you were able to take what other people had done and learn from them without recreating and reinventing the wheel. So you learned from their mistakes, which is really a profound thing. As we are losing everything and starting to rebuild our life and really starting to own what this new life looks like, right? How do you not go back into the space of where you were? What motivates you?
I think it comes back to exactly what you just said. The things that motivate me now are really the exact same things that motivated me then. None of that has even changed. I'm motivated for personal growth. I always feel like I can learn and grow and help others. And I knew that was my why. That was my purpose, was I want to help people. What I didn't know was I was going to start out by helping people one at a time through mental health. And then that was going to evolve, and I was going to help people in a consultant role, grow businesses and scale businesses. And then that was going to evolve. And then I was going to be able to help people through writing books and speaking. And so my purpose this whole entire time has never changed. It's just the actions that I'm doing have changed over time. And that's exactly why I decided to start a business in the first place, is because like you have told me, I wanted to be able to take what the universe was giving me and do something with it. And if I had a feeling that I was supposed to go in a certain direction, I wanted to be able to go there. I didn't want anything or anyone to be able to stop me. So I don't know if that really answered your question, but
So around that, how did you face the fear of not letting fear hold you back?
Oh yeah, okay. So when I was seeing clients as a therapist, my specialty was in anxiety and panic disorders. And anyone that knows anything about anxiety and panic disorders, you know that the root or the core is always fear. That is the only reason we experience anxiety or panic, unless there's a medical reason other than that. So fortunately for me, I already had a very close relationship with fear. I talked about fear every single day with my clients. I helped them work through fear. And I think what was unique about my situation, which made it terrible in the moment, but it made me thankful for it now, was that I didn't have any other choice. I wasn't living any kind of lifestyle that granted me the opportunity to say, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do this. I didn't have a choice. Nobody was going to hire me. I was pregnant. I couldn't work. I had no experience. I had nothing in business. I was never going to be a teacher again. I couldn't be a counselor at the moment because I couldn't drive around to people's houses. I wasn't even allowed in a car. And so I had absolutely no other choice. So fear, while it was still there, it didn't give me a reason to back down because I knew the alternative was, honestly, I don't know what we would. I know we wouldn't have gone homeless because we could have lived with our family members, I guess. But I just knew that I didn't want it to get any worse than what it already was. So I just didn't have a choice.
Yeah. And I think that state of fear holds so many people back from living their authentic self space and what it is that they want to do and design with their life. And I know Tony Robbins, I'm going to do a shout out to him right now. He has an acronym for fear: false evidence appearing real. And I love that because a lot of times the very thing that we're afraid of is really unfounded fear, and maybe just pushing through it would make the difference. And for me, I'm very surrendered, so I don't necessarily fall into the trap, because I also recognize when it is fear showing up, and then I say, okay, I'm going to compartmentalize you over here, and I'm going to continue to keep moving. So
Right.
it doesn't mean it's going to work all the time, but at least it's something.
Yeah, I heard something that someone said. I wish I could remember her name because I would give her credit for it. I can at the moment, but she is an author, and I was in a quick little Q&A thing with her, and she posed a question, and she just said, what if what is in the way is the way? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit. But when you ask yourself what is holding you back, like what is it that's stopping you from stepping out and going after whatever it is you want to go after, if you can reframe that and take whatever that is and make that the way, that you really just need to lean into that and use that as a leverage to whatever it is you're trying to do, I think it can be really impactful. And the same, I was thinking as well, if you came to me and said, I want you to start a business, and I'm going to give you $1 million to start the business, I would have no idea where to start. I don't think I could do it. But if you came to me and said, here's $100, go start a business, I could figure that out. So sometimes having less really forces ourselves to think out of the box, challenge our barriers, and use our own strengths to do what we already know we can do. So I'll take the $100 over the $1 million any day. And I don't know if that's just how I was raised or because of my experiences with the laundry basket baby. I don't know. But I think that we should give ourselves more credit than what we do, because we're capable of so much more than what we think.
It's so true. And there's a lot of people that when they go through really hard times, they think of it as there's this black cloud over them. They start to take it personally. And the beautiful thing about these life experiences that we go through in our journey is that really they're gifts for us, because it's springboarding us into something that we never even knew we had the inner strength to be able to persevere through or overcome, or it really is our decision in what it is we're going to do with it, whether we're going to make it something good, or if we're going to continue to go down this journey and just keep having these circumstances repeat over and over and over.
Right.
And I love that you took your circumstances and you made it a gift for you and your family, because you wouldn't be sitting here having all of this wealth of knowledge and personal experience to share with the world had you not done that.
Right. 100%.
It's beautiful. Kasey, I am so honored that you're with me today and sharing this message to the world. And I just wonder, is there anything else that you can offer to the world that might be helpful as far as tools or resources or something that can help them if they're, in a place of darkness or anxiety, or, just feeling like they've lost everything, something to help them?
Sure. Yeah, there's a couple things. Our group practice for mental health, we have a blog that we update. I think we update it about every single week that addresses different issues with that people are going through right now. And so going to that website that I can give you, it's Mindset Behavioral Group, and just looking through those blogs, we have so many resources on that website, so many downloads. And then we're building out a new website right now. We're in the process of it, and I'll send you that link too, so that people, if they want to go in there and download any tools or resources, they can. But we are putting a toolkit together for people who are looking for guidance, looking for help. Everything's free. Everything we do, we just turn it into a PDF so people can download it and access it. Like I said earlier, there's so much information out there. But those are two places you could start.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Kasey. I really appreciate it. And I have one last question for you. I always ask all of my guests with Retreat to Peace, if I were to find your earth angel feather on the ground and I picked it up, what would your message to the world be?
Oh, I've thought about this. I've really thought about this. I've said this before, and this is really what I feel like I'm called to do. I feel like I'm on this mission to help people find entrepreneurial confidence. Now, this doesn't mean that I don't want to help people that aren't business owners, because I do. But I think that the confidence is actually what lies on the other side of fear. And what happens is we are holding back our life, and we are, I don't want to say wasting time, but we are wasting time because we keep telling ourselves that when I feel confident, or when I do this, then I'll start, or when I do this, then I'll start. And I really think that's a lie. And I think it's a trap. And I don't want people to fall for it, because just like me, I didn't have the confidence to do what I did. I really didn't. I was a nobody, that's how I felt. But I knew I had to do it. And so I just started doing it. And then what happened was the confidence kind of found me. I woke up over the course of a few years just thinking, wow, like I do know what I'm doing. I am a somebody. And so I think that that's the biggest message, is that you don't have to wait until you feel confident before you start. You just need to start. And that confidence always finds you.
That is so profound. And every single human on the planet has a reason for being here. And whether they found their purpose or not, just finding your purpose and working your way through it. And sometimes your purpose will find you just through, what you've been through. Mm-hmm. So I love your message, Kasey, and you're such a breath of fresh air. You've got so much to offer the world, and thank you so much for everything you're doing to help, your community and to help the world heal in a time when there needs to be a lot of healing. So much gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for, well, I can't even say all the things that you're doing. It's amazing. So the mental health world appreciates that. And I know that people all over appreciate that.
Thank you. So that's all we have time for today. This is Catherine Daniels with Retreat to Peace, reminding you to live your authentic life with peace. And as always, retreat to peace. We'll see you next time. What are you doing to give yourself some self-care? Retreat to Peace, we look at the body, the mind, and the spirit. Are you doing things to help your body, your mind, and your spirit be in alignment so that you're balanced? One of the things that I think is so important is this idea of just taking care of ourselves. Look at ways that you can balance yourself out on a broad scale, just looking at your community. Look at how you can help your community. How can you help your children? How can you help your spiritual community? Is there something that you can do to make someone happy? Is there something you can do to help world peace. If you're not saying hello to people when you are out and about in your errands, take the time to praise someone, compliment them. Look for ways to empower people around you. Look for ways to empower yourself. Use your mind to look for opportunities to better impact your body as far as what it is that you're taking in. Can you find ways to reduce your aches and pains by meditation or exercise? Maybe just sit in silence. Limit your screen time. Limit the news. Just be patient with yourself. Rely on your higher power, but also put limits on your relationship. Understand what is healthy for you and what is not healthy. Setting limits is so important. Put together a gratitude journal and give thanks for everything, the smallest things to the biggest things. Have appreciation for the simple things. Know that what you are doing and what your desire is, you are manifesting by your thoughts. So make sure that you're being gentle with yourself and giving yourself the meaningful thoughts of the direction you would like to be. Take a moment to give gratitude. Really, really have appreciation in sharing that. Have you gone out into nature? Have you looked at the abundance of nature? Look at the universe and think about how big the universe is and how small we are. But what impact can you make? Think about what it is that you have as far as your goals. Have you put together any goals? It's important to engage in self-talk that is positive, because what we put out into the world, we are manifesting. Make sure you give yourself some time just to wander and be free in your thoughts. But also remember that you are a beacon of God's light, and it's important that you shine as brightly as you can to help raise the vibration of the earth collectively. Think about your attachments. What is best for you? Do you need the abundance of what you have? Or is there something that you can share with the world that may be used for someone in need? We have so much abundance that there are many times someone else could use some of the things that are sitting in our spaces that we no longer use. Learn to let go. Develop your self-awareness, but know what is best for you. Have you practiced the practice of yoga? Have you created a garden? Have you planted any herbs? Have you taken a class? Have you connected with any old friends? Have you rekindled relationships that maybe you thought were gone? Have you been fully present in your world and in your connection with others? Have you read any poetry? Have you visited a zoo? Have you looked at the moon and really contemplated what the moon is like? Have you connected with your inner self? Have you enjoyed a cup of tea that you could really feel and taste what it is the tea is made of? Are you reading any books that help build your curiosity or improve your spiritual wellness? Have you done a massage? Have you corrected anything in your body like inflammation? Or maybe how you think about your body? Have you decided to make a conscious decision to carefully choose what it is that you're putting into your body? And just be mindful of what it is you're putting into your body, but also providing thanks. What old hurts are you letting go? What truths are you surrendering to? Are you eating your fruits and vegetables? Are you imagining your kindness and is it flowing back to you? Are you engaging in acts of kindness? Are you thinking with compassion and peaceful thoughts? Are you manifesting your kindness? Are you really resonating on the intricacies of nature, like how the bees help our natural world as far as pollination? And what can you do to help save the endangered bees? Have you made it a choice to get restful sleep? And if you're having trouble sleeping, are you looking for new ways? Are you being open to new ways that can help you? Maybe having a cup of tea with chamomile at bedtime. Maybe using a weighted blanket. Maybe using a sleep meditation app. Or darkening the room, taking electronics out of the room. What are you doing to help give you a peaceful night's rest? Are you journaling before you go to sleep to remove all of the thoughts that may be rolling around in your head, preventing you to sleep? Do you hang a bird feeder or a birdhouse for the birds? Do you invite nature into your yard? Are you paying attention to nature and what nature is doing? Have you thought of planting any herbs? A lot of times people don't realize that herbs have so many medicinal properties and can really help to heal us. The ancient Egyptians did this for a long time. But they also can help us in so many ways. For example, parsley. Did you know that it can boost your brain power? And if you're having spiritual warfare, did you know that garlic, basil, fennel, and oregano are supposed to be properties that if you hang them dried by your front door will help to give you spiritual protection? When was the last time you took a walk in the woods and just really, really embraced the nature's natural endorphins to feel good? The sun's vitamin D. Did you know that vitamin D helps to ease depression? What about just meditating beneath a tree? A lot of times when I go for a walk in the woods, one of the first things I do is wrap my arms around a tree. Are you doing any kind of exercise? What kind of exercise are you doing and what are you focusing on? What do you think you need help with? If you're not sure about how to strengthen your body with exercise, have you sought out ways to learn? Do you swim? Do you hike? Do you dance? What are you doing to really get divinely into your space to take care of yourself? Do you get up in the morning and throw your arms up way up in the air and just stretch and put them down to the floor and just stretch and just really focus on your balance? Do you focus on your breath? Instead of just racing out of bed and starting your day, take a moment. Just take a few deep breaths and exhale and just stretch. Stretch your body out. Are you grounded with your true self? Are you getting rid of the clutter? Are you finding ways to bring calm into your space? Are you sinking into your Epsom salt bath to remove toxins? Are you looking for your mantra that is going to build you and bring you to your highest peak state when you're feeling low? There are so many things that we can do every day to help ourselves just be better, be stronger. And every day, if we practice this, we can continue to grow in ourselves as far as where it is that we have to see as our vision. Last week, I read a poem from Rumi, and I thought I would do it again this week. So this is again from Rumi. If you want to find yourself, leave yourself alone. Wade in no little creek. Swim in the big flow. You are that bull who carries the world. Revolt for once and topple the globe. When we do this, it's amazing what happens, because we find that we are with ourselves, and we find that we have so much power within ourselves to make our choices. I wish each and every one of you to just be exactly where you are today and have so much compassion and gentleness for yourself, and just know that you are exactly where you are supposed to be today. So don't forget to find out about all of our 2021 retreats that we'll be hosting this year. The calendar of events is out. You can get all of that information at retreattopeacellc@gmail.com. So please email us and we will get all that information out to you. If you are interested in learning more, you can also find it on Facebook on Retreat to Peace, and also Eventbrite, which is also available for ticketing and that kind of thing. Anyway, I hope you'll join us next week when Susie McWilliams joins us in her talk, Be Free. This is a great talk that you'll definitely want to hear, and she's a great guest. So I'm so excited to share this talk with you. But I hope you have a beautiful week, and I look forward to sharing more with you next week. So have a beautiful week. And as always, live your authentic life with peace. This is Catherine Daniels reminding you to retreat to peace, and we'll see you next time.